Hey boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for clicking on the video. Today I have a piece of bittersweet. I've turned this before. I'll put the thingy right up there, and my daughter now owns it. I gave it to her as a Christmas gift or whatever. On this piece we have two giant vines that actually grew around each other. As you can see, the spiral. I'm going to try to turn it this way to make this the mouth of the bowl, this the base. I'm going to have to do some flattening and centering and what have you. But the last time I cut it, it cut really nice. So we'll see what happens on this trip. Thanks for clicking on the video. See you in a minute. Okay, I got it mounted up right where I needed to put the spur drive. Was a big soft rotten spot on the end, so I put a plate on the end of it and screwed that directly on my lathe. And as you can see here, we have way out of balance and off center, so we are going to have some issues turning this. I got my tailstock in a good solid spot. It's a little punky, but I think it'll grab, so I'm going to turn this on and start nipping away here until I get it down close, which is way off, close to where I need it. What I'm trying to do is flatten out the bottom so it will stand up and get a tenon on here so I can clamp it in the jaws and then hollow out the big end. Alright. There's going to be bark flying and everything else. Luckily this is fairly soft. I don't even know if you can call it wood. Soft vine. Let's start easing away at this, and I definitely have my face shield on. Standing off to the side. As you can see, this is going to take a while. I could get in there with my saw, but I don't know if I want to take this whole chunk off or go, you know, kind of half and half, get it all off center and weird looking. So I'm going to keep nipping away at this, and I'll turn you back on when it gets exciting. As you can see, we are making headway. It's actually cutting a lot nicer than I thought it was going to. I guess it's wet enough. I'm getting a decent cut on it for considering what it is. I'm watching the top to see where my cut is. As you can see, long way to go, but I think it's going to look pretty nice. Alright folks, as you can see, I have a tenon on there. I have a bark inclusion. It is not the best tenon in the world, but it's semi-solid. I am going to cut this piece off, shoop, gone, find a new center, then I'm going to take it off the lathe and CA glue the heck out of that tenon so I can get as much strength as possible. Just about got it down where we can turn up the speed, and there's a better shot. So I'm going to whittle away at this, and then I'm going to get my saw out, cut it off, run this back in and get a new center, so I'll have it for later, and then get this thing flipped around and see what we can do with it. Alright, it's super glue time. Yeah, we got a pretty good center on that. Take it off and I am just going to saturate it. So we'll probably have smoke and everything else. But it is what it is. Okay, I got it all CA glued up. It came out pretty decent. Before I flip it, I'm going to taper this back, make the bottom of my bowl. Hopefully this right here will be enough for it to sit on. I'm going to flatten that out and dress it up a little bit, turn this back, put a nice taper on it, and then we'll be ready to flip around. I got it up on the next highest speed, see if it'll handle it. Oh yeah, it's a little better. I want to go bare minimum on this. That's almost where I want it. So I'm just going to straighten it out and flatten it out and leave as much bark on as I can. Get that little bitty wing off. There it goes. Yep, that's kind of what I want. Let me just touch it up a little bit more and we can get it flipped around. I just want to round this right here. I'll dress up that tenon a little bit while I'm on this end of it. think I'll do that with my scraper. There we go. Now it's going to sit on this outside pretty decent. Alright, I've gone just about as much as I care to. Giving it a good dusting off, and I'll get a coat of finish on there that I could use as sanding sealer. I got the bark fairly smooth. There's some spots that's still rough, but after I sand it, after I put the finish on, I think I'll hand sand a few more spots. So I got it cleaned off pretty decently. I got to be careful. I end up dumping my whole can of finish. Let's see what this stuff looks like with a shine finish on it. It's got some nice color. Nice golden color. But there's a lot of moisture in this piece. It is a vine, so I think it just continued to soak up rainwater and what have you. But we'll see what happens. Might have to sit in here for a couple of weeks to help dry out. I like where I sanded on the bark. Partial bark roughness and then partial sand through. We'll see. But I have a deep crevice in the bark, and if I try to go all the way down that to get to the solid, aka wood, right here is where it starts. It goes pretty deep, so if I get all the way down to that, there won't be much of anything to turn. So I'm just going to leave it rough and see what happens on the inside. I'm going to try to turn it so this doesn't end up right here. I mean, this is like that deep, that deep. So I'm going to try to turn it where I don't have a big hole in it, or maybe a small hole, and then stop turning and try to put a like bell shape or a tapered rim on it. See if I can keep the bark intact. I think it will look kind of neat if it works. If it doesn't, I'll just turn it down to a tiny little regular bowl. Alright, I'm going to let this dry overnight. It's a little chilly. Actually, happy spring, everybody. It's up to like 40, 48, 49 degrees. Crazy after the storm we all just went through. I hope you all survived. Got down to 5 degrees above 0 Fahrenheit here, but we had a wind. I bet you a good 25-mile-an-hour wind half the time. So it was a little chilly out. Christmas Eve and then the day before that. Alright, I'm going to let this dry overnight, and we'll turn you back on in the morning if I'm out here playing on my toy. I'm sorry, working on the lathe. Good morning, everybody. I got it flipped around. I left the ring on there just so I could help center it. It looks pretty decent. I just want to get my rim established, and then I'll get this out of the way. It's got a little wobble to it, but not too bad. I figured it would because this stuff is so wet. Matter of fact, some of it got kind of cloudy under the finish because of the water content. So it shrinks and expands, shrinks and expands. It won't dry out until I get the center cut out of it. So let me get my face mask on and we can get at it and see what happens. I want to save that bark on there, make a nice tapered rim like this. I can hear it's loose, so I gotta be really gentle with it. Looks like it's coming out pretty round. This spot right here I really want to save, so I might have to sacrifice a little bit here. Actually, no, it might work out good. We'll see. That's pretty decent. I think I'm going to call her there. Call it good there. Now I'm going to put a straight edge across here and measure how deep in this bark inclusion goes, and that will tell me where I can hollow in here. Basically it's going to end up looking about the shape of a spittoon. So let me get that all marked out and then we'll continue on. As you can see, this material is rather soft, so I want to get my depth of the hole marked back in here so I don't just go digging into the bark. So I'll measure the lowest spot right about there. Looks like right about here is where my hole is. So I'll concentrate on hollowing that and then I'll ease up. Yeah, that's soaking wet. it's basically all rotten in the center. Well, I switched over to carbide. Seems to be doing a better job. I mean, at least for roughing it out. So we'll continue on. I got a bunch of, a lot of material to dig out of the bottom of this to get any kind of bowl shape to it at all, where the sides aren't that thick. So I'm going to keep punching away, and when I get it close to done or disaster, I'll turn you back on. Just howling little by little. A lot of checking. I don't want to come through the bark right here, so I put a puddle of super glue in there and let it soak through. So what I'm looking for is the change of color to know when to stop. I got my depth, got it looking pretty decent. I still got about the walls are still 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick. Just poking away at it. Kind of crazy. I just happened to check and my carbide cutter was actually coming loose. The screw was probably halfway backed out. I did not know that was a thing. I guess it is. I'll keep my eye on it from now on. Time for some spot sanding. This stuff is very fibrous. And the way this is shaped, I don't want to try to sand it while it's spinning. I don't want to knock that bark off. Sand's pretty easy with 80 grit. Got a couple of ridges here where it was vibrating and flexing as I was cutting. New battery time. This is going to take a while. I'll turn you back on at finish time. How's that sound? Okay. Okay, I got her sanded up pretty good. Vacuumed off. I think I got it up to 220 or something like that. There's a lot of moisture in this piece, and I think the alcohol in the shellac will help push that moisture out. It may fog up and get cloudy, but I had a spot on the back where it fogged up and got cloudy, and it sanded off pretty easy. So I'm willing to take the risk just to see what this piece ends up. It's probably going to have to dry out for weeks, and I'll have to show you possibly a finished product picture on another video, maybe. Well, not maybe. I will do it if it takes that long. This stuff is very fibrous, kind of difficult to sand, so this may act as a sanding sealer also. Again, with the fibers popping up. But watch this. This piece is going to be beautiful. It's got gorgeous color. I love that golden color. I don't know if you're getting the true color or not, but it's all kinds of yellows and oranges, and then we got the black for the bark. We have a radial grain in here. There's a little spot right here. I'll try to shoot you a close-up. But I'm just going to get this finish on here to help stiffen up the fibers. I'm putting it on very heavy. If I had a slower speed on my lathe, I would turn it on and let it rotate very slowly and just put a puddle on the inside and let it roll around. But I don't, so I won't. This would be a good candidate for a thin epoxy. But it's going to look pretty nice, I think. You can see the spiral right here where the vine came around itself. I blew through a little bit. I got a little peek hole in the side, like right up under there. See if I can show it. I don't think you can see it, but it's right here, but on the inside of the bowl. It's not bad. I'll put another coat on the bark also. The bark sounds a little loose, but I CA glued the heck out of it, and I may do it even again, just so when it dries up the bark won't come off. But I pretty much have bark all around the outside of the whole piece. Yeah, the spot that was all white cloudy from the moisture is now fairly clear, and it looks pretty darn good. I'll try to get some pictures up. I haven't taken the tenon off yet. I kind of want to leave that on there in case I need to put it back on the lathe to re-sand it or whatever I need to do. So I'm just going to let this sit around for a couple of weeks and we'll see what happens. I'll keep it in the shed because I just brought it off the wood pile a day ago when I started this video, so it's definitely got some drying out to do. And it works better when you let it dry out at cool temperatures instead of taking it right in the house. I've made that mistake before, and it causes the wood to warp like nobody's business. That shock in temperature. So when I do a green piece, I just let it sit out here and dry for several weeks, maybe even a month if I forget about it, which is actually a benefit. Yeah, it's going to soak up this finish quite a bit. But as it is now, I have the finished shape, unless it totally all clouds up, and then I'll have to sand the finish back off. And like I said before, it wasn't real difficult. So I'll stand this up and get you some inside shots. It looks pretty cool. And then I'll turn you back on and finish up the video. Thanks.